Alright, time for the next video in this series. Last time, we talked about the best hit songs of 2011, so now it's 2012's turn. While I'm not as big of a fan of this year in terms of mainstream music as I was for the previous year, I was at the tail end of my adolescent years at this time, as this was the year I turned 13. I can definitely say the music of this time did define me, so let's talk about what songs were popular in 2012. I said in the previous video in this series that 2011 was the height of the club boom. Well, unfortunately, the club boom fizzled out pretty quickly after reaching its peak. 2012 was the year the club boom pretty much died. There were still a few remnants of the club boom on the charts in 2012, but it definitely had a sharp decline this year, and there weren't nearly as many songs with that same club/partying energy as there were in the previous year. Many of the club boom artists of 2010 to 2011 during this time either went on hiatus, quit/broke up, or started adapting their sound. As for what replaced the club boom, we started seeing a lot more indie pop in 2012, thanks to artists like Fun, The Lumineers, and Mumford & Sons getting airplay. As for what the nightclubs were playing, since the electropop sound was on its way out, to fill that void, there was a certain genre of music that exploded in popularity in 2012 known as dubstep. And as someone who lived through 2011 and 2012, I definitely remember the rise of dubstep during this time, most notably with the emergence of Skrillex into the mainstream. Though some of you who are familiar with the musical zeitgeist of this time might actually be overestimating how popular dubstep and Skrillex really were at this time. Even though Skrillex was huge in 2012, and it really felt like he was the biggest artist of the year, at least in the public discourse, he didn't have any songs to make the 2012 year-end list. Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites and Bangarang only peaked number 69, lol, and 72 on the Hot 100 respectively. Dubstep didn't really have the same universal appeal that electropop did, hence why it didn't get nearly as much airplay as the club boom bangers from 2010 and 2011. Sure, there were a couple of dubstep-infused songs that were hits in 2012, but pure dubstep music wasn't really getting played by pop stations. As I said in the series before, EDM usually always underperforms in the USA compared to in Europe. Skrillex would have to wait till 2015 to finally get a year-end hit. But at least online, it really seemed like dubstep was the #1 genre this year, even though chart-wise, it wasn't. Speaking of online, the internet was also becoming a factor in what was popular this year. This was the year that Gangnam Style was released and exploded in popularity, being an early pioneer in the crossover success of K-pop stateside, having its music video be the first YouTube video to ever reach 1 billion views, and becoming the first viral hit to actually achieve real Hot 100 success, peaking #2 in the Hot 100, which is more than can be said for Rebecca Black's Friday. By the way, Gangnam Style's not making this list, but it is obligatory to mention it in a video about the music of 2012, given how viral the song and its music video went that year, and how inescapable it was for anyone who lived through this time like I did. Seriously, if there's anything you remember about the year 2012 besides the whole "the world's gonna end on December 21st" mass hysteria, it's Gangnam Style. I'll talk more about YouTube's impact on the Hot 100 in the next video in this series, but for now, let's talk about what was popular in 2012. Just a few notes as always before getting into the list. Only the songs that debut on the 2012 year-end Hot 100 list are eligible. Therefore, any songs not on that list, plus these 8 songs already made the 2011 list, are disqualified. Go watch my previous best and worst hit songs videos, especially those in this top 10 best hit songs of 2019 series, to avoid spoilers for songs I talked about there. I will not be doing a top 10 worst hit songs of 2012 video, but for those who are curious, here are what the songs on that list would be. Finally, this list is just my opinion. Please don't get mad at me if I put a song you hate on here, or my ordering isn't the same as yours. Feel free to tell me in the comments what your favorite hit songs of 2012 are. Okay, now let's get into my picks for the top 10 best hit songs of 2012. Here we go. We're starting this list off with a song that I was originally planning to just be an honorable mention, but after re-listening to it again, I realized that I liked it more than the song I originally planned to put at number 10. Not the first time in this series I decided to promote an honorable mention to the list proper upon re-evaluation, and I'm glad that was also the case here because it gives me another chance to talk about another song by the incredibly talented Carrie Underwood. And while I think I still prefer both of the Carrie Underwood songs I've already talked about in 2 of my previous Best of Songs videos, the title track from her 4th album, Blown Away, is still a really good song and the best hit country song of 2012. Unlike her 2 other hits I praised, this one isn't a ballad. It's a more upbeat song with a peppier melody thanks to the piano, drums, and guitars, including the electric guitar in the second half of the song, and it hits a real punch when that chorus comes. It has a bit of a darker tone to it compared to Underwood's previous output, but yet it's not dour. It gives more of a feeling of a swirling whirlwind of emotions, and given the lyrical content, you could tell that's what it was going for. It tells the story of a girl hiding in the cellar from an impending storm. The weatherman is calling for a twister, but instead of hoping and praying that doesn't come her way, she actually wishes for the opposite. She does want the tornado to hit her house. Her father is abusive, and her mother has passed away. She has a lot of painful memories in that house, and there's no way to wash it clean of its sins. As she hides in the cellar, her father is asleep on the couch, but she doesn't wake him up. She just listens to the wind from down below, hoping it'll shatter every window, rip up every board, and knock down every brick. The rage she feels regarding her painful memories mirrors that big, scary tornado outside her window. It's very poetic and well written, and it really gives you the imagery of there being a big, flashing storm against a darkening sky and tornado on the horizon. In that sense, it reminds me a bit of Luke Combs' Ain't No Love in Oklahoma. You could argue it's vengeful and malicious of the protagonist to want her house and her her father to be torn to shreds, but it just sounds awesome, and I can see hitting a cathartic note for some. And Carrie Underwood gets a fantastic vocal performance as always. She didn't win American Idol for nothing. Really glad I decided the song was better than a mere honorable mention before I started recording this video. It's definitely a song that'll blow you away. Well, here's another song written by the legendary songwriting duo of Max Martin and Dr. Luke. I've already talked about 6 of the previous hit songs they've written together in the series, and they once again knocked it out of the park with this song. And despite the fact that one of those two guys turned out to be a scumbag, Domino by Jessie J is just so awesome that I don't really care who wrote it. Compared to a previous hit, Price Tag featuring B.O.B. from the 2011 list, Domino's was on the leans more into dance pop, with an infectious guitar melody, which sort of reminds me of the one on Nothing in This World by Paris Hilton, another song written and produced by Dr. Luke. It's got the same sort of funky electropop sound that would fit into artists like Katy Perry, and I could definitely see this being a song she'd sing. In fact, I can't help but wonder if maybe the song was actually a leftover cut from Teenage Dream, but Jessie J manages to sell just as well, or maybe even better than Perry could have. She just sounds absolutely amazing with her belting. She may not quite be in the same level of vocal talent as, say, Christina Aguilera, but she still has so much personality here, and she just sounds so expressive as she sings about getting that sexy feeling and wanting to make love to her partner. Like the second verse of Teenage Dream, it's a bit risque, but not blatant enough to the point that it couldn't get played on pop radio. Lyrics like, "We can do this all night," "Damn this love is skin tight," or "Dirty Dance in the Moonlight," or even the title lyric, "Take me down like I'm a domino," cater to that playful, kinky nature it's going for. And while you could argue that some of the lyrics are a bit cliche, like, "When we touch, don't ever let me go," or "You got me losing my mind," or "Oh baby, baby, got me feeling so right," the song just sounds awesome enough that I don't really care. Plus, there are some fairly novel lyrics like, "I can taste the tension like a cloud of smoke in the air," or "I'm seeing Hollywood stars." It may not quite be on the same level as some of the best hits that came out of the club boom, but that's not quite the sound it's going for. But it certainly succeeds at being a sexy and irresistibly catchy electropop song. You could argue it's not as meaningful lyrically as Price Tag was, but again, I think it's totally fine. Shame Jessie J didn't have as impactful of a music career as some of the other female pop stars from around this time, at least in America, because she showed some real promise with this song. Every second of it is a highlight.
I have loved you for 1,000 years.
Here we have another song in this series as a soundtrack song, a song specifically made for a movie that's typically included on the movie's official soundtrack. This was actually one of 2 songs specifically made for the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1 to be hits in late 2011 to early 2012, the other being It Will Rain by Bruno Mars. However, of the 2 songs, 1,000 Years by Christina Perri is easily the better of the 2. For the record, I've never seen any of the Twilight movies, and I don't plan to see them anytime soon. However, judging the song on its own, I think it's actually a really nice love ballad. Like Christina Perri's previous hit, Jar of Hearts on the 2011 year-end list, 1,000 Years is an emotional ballad with a piano, string section, and a crescendo that builds to the second chorus. However, there's a few things that make the song even better than Jar of Hearts. Firstly, the melody is a bit more pleasant and feels like one I come back to more easily. Jar of Hearts is one of those songs that is definitely far from bad, but is also very somber, and you have to be in a very specific mindset to want to willingly listen to. Whereas that song sounded very gothic, 1,000 Years is more uplifting. I mean, it is a love song after all. It has a somewhat similar sound to Jar of Hearts, and definitely sounds like it's from the same artist, but it sounds more romantic. That piano that starts off the song reminds me quite a bit of The Riddle by Five for Fighting, and while nowhere near as amazing as that song, it still sounds very lovely. But in addition to a piano, we also hear a guitar in this song, most prominently on the verses. And you all know I'm a sucker for gentle acoustic ballads. The song never sounds too loud, restraining itself to fit within the gentle love song feeling it's aiming to achieve. And I also feel like the strings make the song feel more orchestral, which fits for a song made for a movie soundtrack. You can argue the lyrics are a bit cliche with lines like "Heart beats fast" or "Time stands still" or "Darling, don't be afraid," but never sounds too saccharine. For a song about overcoming your bravery and finally expressing your love to your partner, it does its job perfectly well. Also, the title line, "I have loved you for 1,000 years, I'll love you for 1,000 more," fits for a movie about a vampire and a human being in love, since vampires are immortal and live for well over 1,000 years. But outside of the context of the movie, that could simply be seen as a hyperbolic expression of love. This song is certainly one I want to express my love to. Give it a listen.
But I set fire to the rain.
I told you I'd be talking about at least one more Adele song that went to #1 in the series. This was the 3rd single from her sophomore album 21, and the last single from that album to hit #1 in the USA. And while not quite as good as Rolling in the Deep, which I already talked about in the 2011 video, Set Fire to the Rain is still a very good song. It may not be as interesting musically as Rolling in the Deep, but at least not as minimalist as Someone Like You. In addition to the piano, there's also drums and strings to help give the song some swell, especially when that chorus comes. It doesn't hit as hard of a punch as you'd expect from a rock power ballad, but I think that's okay. At least it hits a bigger crescendo than the previous song on the this list. I could see some people finding 1,000 Years to be too slow and boring. This song, however, is going for more of a mid-tempo sound. It's also leaning more towards soul, and Adele always pulls that sound off. She is an amazing singer, and it's always a treat to hear her voice. Set Fire to the Rain is a soulful song about a past relationship turning sour and setting it ablaze. The first verse is you let your heart fall until someone rose to claim it, and how you thought you were over until this person kissed your lips and saved you. And the second verse says how when you lay with them, you could stay there forever, close your eyes, and feel them there forever, since nothing is better. But there was a side to them that you didn't know about then. Nothing they said to you was true, and they kept playing games with you that they always win. So you set fire to the rain. Something about this relationship has died, so you knew it was time to burn it down. But even though you've broken up with them for good, and for good reason, part of you does still sort of miss him deep down. As enforced with the lines on the bridge, even now when we're already over, I can't help myself from looking for ya. I will admit out of all four of Adele's singles for 21 to be year-end hits, Set Fire to the Rain is probably the least interesting lyrically. It's certainly not the only song to be about ending a bad or toxic relationship, but still, the production and Adele's always fantastic vocal performance certainly does make up for it. Heck, her recording of this song from live at the Royal Albert Hall would end up earning Adele a Grammy for Best Pop Solo Performance. It's the second best single from 21, and another Adele song I'm happy to praise, although I've still yet to talk about Adele's best hit song in this series, so stay tuned for that. Well, with a title like that, how could this song not make this list? And yeah, considering that I think this is the 6th best hit song of 2012, I think it's safe to say that Good Time by Owl City and Carly Rae Jepsen certainly lives up to its title. It's neither artist's best song. As far as Owl City songs go, I do prefer Fireflies from the 2009 list, as well as When Can I See You Again from Wreck-It Ralph. And as for Carly Rae Jepsen, I like This Kiss a little bit more. But of Carly Rae Jepsen's only 2 year-end hits, Good Time is the better of the two. It's a nice little synth-pop track with an electronic piano, electronic synths, drum machines, head-bobbing melody, and lyrics about having a good time without even trying. It doesn't matter when or where you go, you always just have a good time. It's a very euphoric song, though unlike Mary J. Blige's Just Fine, this one has more of a going out and having a blast vibe to it. From the first verse with Adam Young saying that he woke up on the right side of the bed with a Prince song in his head and hopped in a cab to go someplace, it seems like he wants to enjoy himself, maybe call up some buds and have a party. And the pre-chorus talks about waking up at twilight. That plus the line on the first verse about sleeping in all your clothes like you don't care implies that it's about sleeping all day and partying all night. And both Young and Jepsen have great chemistry here as they both sing their respective verses and sing unison on the chorus. Like Owl City's previous hit, there is a bit of a summer feeling to this song, which may have been intentional given the month the song was released in. Though unlike Fireflies, which was trying to be very dreamlike and atmospheric, this song seems to be going for more of a summer camp feeling to it. And I'm not just saying that because that's what happens in the music video. I think the children chanting that we hear in the bridge and their singing on the final chorus and the outro also enforce that summer camp feeling it seems to be going for. This song was definitely designed to be a summer anthem, and it just sounds awesome. I could totally see the song being played while fishing in a lake or doing activities like tie-dye. You could argue maybe the chorus is a bit lazy with repeating whoa for a good chunk of it, but for a feel-good summery anthem, I'm not looking for a super complex or artistically challenging chorus. All in all, it's just a super fun and catchy song. Go give it a listen if you haven't heard it. I promise you'll have a good time.
I don't need that door. Now you're just somebody that I used to know.
If there's any song that I think is a quintessential example of a sleeper hit, it has to be this song, Somebody That I Used to Know. It's not very often that an indie song by two virtually unknown artists would not only hit number 1 on the Hot 100, but end up being the number 1 biggest hit song of the year. And yet, against the odds, that's what happened in 2012. This is another one of those songs in the category of, it doesn't feel like it should have even been a hit because it sounds so different than the rest of mainstream music of the time, but I'm glad it was a hit because it's a really good song. I like the sound of the xylophone, an instrument you don't really hear in many songs, let alone mainstream charting songs. I also like the wobbly guitar sound, which gives the song a feeling of mystery and loneliness. And the guitar line sampled from the 1967 Brazilian instrumental track Seville by Luis Bonfa makes the song feel reserved, yet with a sense of anger bubbling below the surface. And that fits the lyrics about being given the cold shoulder by an ex-partner. Although they mutually agreed to end the relationship, one of them said they could still be friends, but they ended up completely cutting off all contact with the other and it pretended like they never knew them at all. Now they're just somebody that they used to know. And the crescendo on the chorus matched with Gautier's belting, juxtaposed with his very quiet, hushed tone in the first verse, sells that sense of frustration with the ex. And it sounds even better when there's harmonization on the final chorus. Just because they're not together anymore doesn't mean they had to completely cut them out and treat them like a total stranger. And then we get the second verse, sung by Kimbra, playing the other person in the former relationship. And we get her side of the story, justifying the decision, claiming that he made her feel like she screwed him over when it was the other way around, and saying that he told her he could let it go and wouldn't stay hung up on it. It's a very well arranged and written song. Shane, this is the only song most people know Gautier for, and he ended up becoming a one-hit wonder artist. This song's huge success would end up overshadowing the rest of his discography and caused him to stop making music as Gautier. I wish Eyes Wide Open had been a year-end hit too, because if it was, it would have easily been the #1 best hit of the year. It's legitimately one of my favorite songs of all time. Go give that song a listen. But as for Somebody That I Used to Know, it's not #1 on this list too, but I do still think it's one of the best hit songs of the year. Great song.
No matter what they say, I'm not over you.
You ever find it weird when an artist's most well-remembered and critically acclaimed song isn't their highest charting? It happened with the Backstreet Boys with I Want It That Way, it happened with MC Hammer with You Can't Touch This, and it happened with Gavin DeGraw with Not Over You. This was his 4th and final song to be a year-end hit, and it's hands down his best. Neither of his 2005 hits, I Don't Wanna Be or Chariot, ever really did much for me. Although I did like In Love With a Girl, which would have made my 2008 list if it was a top 20 list instead of top 10. But Not Over You manages to rise above the rest of his hits and be his most revered song, and for good reason. It's hands down the best sounding of all of his hits, with the light pleasant piano backing, Gavin DeGraw's soulful vocals, and foot-tapping melody. There's a lightness to the song that feels more attuned to adult contemporary stations. It's got a similar sound to one you expect from an artist like Sarah Bareilles. It gives us sort of the impression of this being sort of a singer-songwriter song. It definitely sounds like a song that you'd expect a singer to write at his piano, pouring out his emotions. And given this is a song about not being over a breakup, that seemed to be intentional. Gavin DeGraw sings about how if his ex asks how he's doing, he'll lie and say that he's doing just fine, and doesn't think of her. But when he goes out for dinner at a table for two, he realizes that he has to face the truth. He's still in love with his ex-partner and misses her, despite how much he's tried to deny it. Even though she put his heart through hell, she's still magnificent. And he's still hopeful that maybe, just maybe, they can get back together. Maybe they'll have a conversation, but for now, it's alienation. And if he had the chance to renew, he'd get back on the right track, but only if she be convinced. As for now, only in his dreams can he see your face anymore. There's a sense of longing, but it never comes off as clingy or parasocial. He sounds sympathetic as he sings about how he misses his ex, and hopes, perhaps in vain, that they can start all over. But it's not demanding, it's more so just silent contemplating. It's emotional, but it's not mopey or melodramatic. Yet the major key still makes it uplifting enough for pop radio. It's a very well written and great sounding song, and everything about it just comes together tremendously. No matter what I say, I'm not over this song.
Dream of paradise, paradise.
Yeah, I think most of you knew I'd be talking about this song here. I've already talked about all 3 of Coldplay's previous hits in this series. Heck, Viva La Vida was almost my #1 best hit song of 2008. However, as great as Viva La Vida is, it isn't even the band's best hit song. That goes to this song, Paradise, the second single from their 5th studio album, Milo Xyloto, which is also the only single from that album to be a hit in America. Shame, because Every Teardrop is a Waterfall is a really good song too, and would have made my best of 2011 list if it had made the year-end list that year. But Paradise making the 2012 list more than makes up for it. It's easily the best song I've ever heard from Coldplay. The synths and strings balance out the electronic and organic sounds, and it really knows how to hit a crescendo, not just on the chorus, but also on the intro before the verse. It doesn't have that same epic orchestral sound that Viva La Vida did, but it still manages to sound just as grand and sweeping, if not more so. The piano, most prominently heard on the verse and bridge, gives the song a very light, childlike feeling to it. And given this is a song about a girl who's hoping for paradise and dreams of it every night, that was probably intentional. She expected the world, but it flew away from her grasp, and she continues to bear the weight of life on her shoulders. So each night, when she closes her eyes, she imagines herself running away and finding paradise. It gives me the feeling of a child jumping and spinning around a bright meadow on a spring day, with lots of colorful flowers all around her. You can just imagine seeing the bright sunshine on a spring afternoon and feeling the light breeze on your skin. It's really fitting for a song titled Paradise. Like 2003's Clocks, it also manages to sound dreamlike, but not in an ethereal way. It's a sound that fits for Coldplay's discography, yet still sounds unique enough to be new for their fans. There's something really relatable about wanting to escape the mundane or even brutal world, and resorting to dreaming every night as a form of escape. You could argue maybe the lyrics of the chorus are a bit too simple, mostly repeating paradise, and a bunch of O sounds, but for a song that's trying to evoke a certain beautiful atmosphere to it, I don't mind it at all. Plus, the background vocals behind Chris Martin really make it feel larger than life, and the melody is just as pleasant as the lyrics. It's a song that certainly makes me feel like I'm in paradise.
Here's what I'll do. I'll take care of you.
You know how there's always an artist who mainly makes bland, mediocre, or even outright bad music, but they happen to have that one really, really good song that makes you wonder, how is this even by the same artist? This is miles better than what they usually put out. Well, Take Care by Drake featuring Rihanna is a song that perfectly falls into that category for me. I've talked about Drake plenty of times in my worst hit songs videos. He even had the #1 worst hit song of 2021 with Way Too Sexy. However, He made an absolutely fantastic song with Take Care. Part of it is that, just like with 2010's Find Your Love, this is a song where Drake sings more than he raps. I mean, he does definitely rap on the verses. It's not 100% singing like on Find Your Love, but he actually does legitimately sing for most of his parts in the song. But that's not all. The production of this song is absolutely gorgeous. The piano, sampled from Jamie XX's remix of Gil Scott-Hernan's I'll Take Care of You, which the song also interpolates, gives it a downbeat, sort of somber, lonely feeling to it. But yet the vocal effects and drum beat do give it a hint of the club, though definitely not enough to be an upbeat club boom song. It's more so in the sense of being in another room where the club music is muted and quieter, or maybe the aftermath when the party's over. And that perfectly fits the lyrics about two people in a relationship being hurt, but wanting to be there and take care of each other. There are some lines that really feel deep, like, and the party's over, just don't forgive me, we'll change the pace and we'll just go slow, or you don't say you love me to your friends when they ask you, even though we both know that you do, or you hate being alone when you ain't the only one, or we all have our nights though, don't be so ashamed. I've had mine, you've had yours, we both know. You can definitely sense that both people in the relationship have been through their trials and tribulations, and despite previously having been heartbroken, they're both anxious but willing to give their hearts to someone else. They just want someone to be with who understands how they feel and help them overcome their sorrow. There's a deep sense of passion in this song that we normally don't hear from Drake. Plus, both he and Rihanna sound miles better than Scott-Hernan's raspy fried-up voice on the original, even if we do hear it in the breakdown here, which was lifted from there. It's hands down both artists' best hit song, which is really saying something given Drake's usual output, but as amazing as it is, it's not quite the number one best hit song of 2012. But before I get to that, let me discuss some honorable mentions.
Burn it down, we can't wait to burn it to the ground.
This is the song Blown Away Jumped Over and is my number 11 for this list. I've already talked about all but one of Linkin Park's hits in the series so far, so I think it's no surprise I was going to talk about their final year-end hit too, which was also the final song on the 2012 year-end list. The electronic melody, Linkin Park's characteristic glitchy synths, the late Chester Bennington's screamy vocals, and Mike Shinoda's rapping vocals of course sound great. Chester has belted harder, and Mike has rapped better flows, but Burn It Down is still a pretty good song, with lyrics that can be interpreted in various ways. It fits Linkin Park's typical angst, but is also universal for anyone who wants to metaphorically burn something down. Good song.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe.
And this is Carly Rae Jepsen's other year-end hit besides Good Time. Again, I wish This Kiss and maybe also Curiosity had been year-end hits in America too, but Call Me Maybe is still a pretty good teen pop and bubblegum pop song, with lyrics and production courtesy of Josh Ramsey and Marianas Trench, whom I'll be talking about shortly. Carly Rae Jepsen sells the girl next door persona really well, as she sings about how she's head over heels in love at first sight with a boy, gives him her number, and asks her to maybe call her. All the other boys try to chase her, but she's only got her eyes on one, and the upbeat sticky melody and strings make it a fun listen. Pretty good and catchy song. This is one of the leftover remnants of the club boom, and while it's much more mid-tempo than most of David Guetta's output, especially compared to his club boom bangers from the two previous years, Titanium is still a pretty good song, thanks to that electric guitar and slowly growing drum beat building to that drop in the post-chorus. It's definitely trying to sound powerful, fitting with the lyrics about not letting another person's words knock you down, so fire away. They shoot you, but you won't fall down because you're titanium. All their bullets ricochet. No matter how hard they shout, you don't hear a word. I think this is both David Guetta and Sia's best hit song, and one that'll certainly hit hard for some listeners.
You show the lights not to stop me, turn to stone. You shine me when I'm alone.
This was Ellie Goulding's first song to cross over stateside, and ironically, it was a lot more successful in the USA than in Goulding's native UK, peaking number 2 in the Hot 100. It's an upbeat synth-pop song with an ethereal, dreamlike feeling to it, fitting with the lyrics about being afraid of the dark and being brave when the lights go off. It's not quite as relaxing of a dreamy, ethereal, nighttime setting song as Fireflies, but the synths, melody, and vocal effects on Goulding's voice give me the imagery of colored lights swirling in the dark, which is what some people see when they close their eyes. I can definitely see this song giving children who are afraid of the dark courage when it's time to shut out the lights. Really good song.
Just a matter of time till you find he's no good, girl.
And here's Carrie Underwood's other 2012 hit and the second best country hit of 2012. Like Blown Away, it's got a bit of a darker edge to it, though in a different way. It's got more of a rocking sound to it, with the electric guitar, including the solo on the bridge, drum beat, and Carrie Underwood warning another girl about someone who seems like a good boy, but he's actually bad for her, and she should get it while she can. The melody really gives that upbeat, rockier sound to it, and of course, Carrie Underwood sounds awesome as she sings. It sort of reminds me of a Kelly Clarkson song. I could see the song being performed by her, and it'd still sound great. That boy may not be good, but this song sure is. And those are the 5 regular honorable mentions. Now let's move on to the ineligible honorable mentions. These are songs that didn't make the 2012 year-end Hot 100 list, but are really good songs that are worth mentioning. Sometimes they're songs that didn't chart high enough on the Hot 100 to make the year-end list, sometimes they didn't chart on the Hot 100 at all, but did chart in another country, and sometimes they never charted anywhere, and are obscure or bubbling under the mainstream songs that should have been hits in my opinion. Anyway, let's talk about my 5 ineligible honorable mentions for 2012.
These are desperate measures now.
I told you I'd be talking about Marianas Trench shortly. I've already talked about them in the 3 previous videos in this series, and honestly, I think this is the best song I've ever heard from them. Everything about it is awesome, from the upbeat tempo, electric guitar, Josh Ramsay's vocals, the sort of theatrical sound, the irresistibly infectious melody, and the lyrics about loving someone, refusing to let the relationship go to waste, and claiming that your poor heart needing them means that desperate times call for desperate measures. It's definitely exaggerative, but it's sold very well. It never sounds too pushy. Josh Ramsay is an amazing vocalist and songwriter, and he really knocked it out of the park here. Great work.
Cause karma's gonna get you now, and I'm not gonna stick around.
And while we're talking about songs that charted in Canada but basically nowhere else, here's a fun little piece of electropop courtesy of Christina Maria. I already talked about her song Let's Play in my Canadian Songs video from 2022, and while I do prefer that song to this one, Karma is still a fun little tune thanks to its catchy melody, electric guitar, albeit not as great as the one on Jessie J's Domino, and lyrics about cathartically telling a partner that you're not gonna wait for them to get their act together, that they can't make up for what they've done, and that karma's gonna get to them. A little petty perhaps, but the song is still an enjoyable listen, even if it's not quite Christina Maria's best.
I've been crazy all my life. Crazy all my life.
And here's yet another song that I remember hearing on Canadian radio that I'm sure almost no Americans have heard. And while not quite as good of a Daniel Powter song as Bad Day, his only song to be popular outside of Canada, Crazy All My Life is one funky track thanks to disco strings, the twinkling sounds, jazzy piano, and the upbeat groove. The funkified guitar and Powter's voice really makes it sound like a Maroon 5 song. It's certainly better than either of the Maroon 5 songs that were hits in 2012. There's a bit of a romantic feeling to the instrumentation, fitting with its lyrics about falling for someone and wanting them to tell you that you've been crazy all your life. I'm definitely crazy for this song.
I'll never ever let you go. Don't you forget what he said.
It's been a while since I've talked about a Christian song as an ineligible honorable mention, so let's talk about He Said by Group 1 Crew featuring Chris August. It's an upbeat Christian pop song that I could totally see being a charting hit if it wasn't for the overtly religious lyrics. It's a comforting song about reminding the listener that despite all the bad things happening to you and wondering, I'm a good person, why is this happening to me? God won't give you more than you can take, and he'll never let you go, so don't worry or let all the crappy things happening in your life get the best of you. And the upbeat melody, pretty good vocal performances, and instrumentation with the piano, drums, and strings are sure to lift you up. Check it out. And back at the Canadian songs, though this is one that did get some exposure outside of Canada since it did chart in a few European countries. The progressive house vibe and Chris James's hush singing make it feel relaxed, yet also head bobbing, similar to Stereo Love, which I talked about in the Best Hits of 2011 video. And the song being both named after and having lyrics referencing the 1950 short story The Veldt fits with Deadmo 5's EDM production since it's a short story about a family who lives in a highly technologically advanced home aided by machines. It only makes sense for the song to be a process EDM song, though not so much that it sounds robotic, no pun intended. Give it a listen. Okay, with those honorable and ineligible honorable mentions out of the way, it's finally time to talk about the song that debuted on the 2012 year-end list that was better than any of the others. Here's the #1 best hit song of 2012.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw.
Now here's an interesting song. Like I said at the start of this video, 2012 was the year that indie pop was exploding in popularity. I mean, the #1 biggest hit song of the year, as I already talked about, was an indie song by 2 virtually unknown artists. But that song wasn't my #1 best hit song of the year. That goes to this other indie pop song, Some Nights by Fun. You could argue it makes more sense for this song to be a hit than Somebody That I Used to Know. After all, it was a follow-up single to We Are Young, another indie pop song that hit #1 on the Hot 100, propelled to popularity by being sung on Glee, which was huge during this time. Although I'd argue that this song is much more unconventional for a charting hit than Somebody That I Used to Know, or even We Are Young. For starters, this song feels like one that would belong more on Broadway than on the Hot 100. There's a real theatrical feeling throughout the song. There's a start of the song with the chorus initially sung without any instruments, with a gospel backing before the piano and eventually thumping drums and electric guitar come in. And when the chorus is heard again with the full instrumentation, it has different lyrics the first time it was sung, and it isn't repeated the third time like it is on most pop songs. Heck, the post-chorus with the O vocals is heard more often than the chorus itself, even being heard during the verses. Not to mention that the verses have different melodies, and the second verse even hits a decrescendo toward the end with it getting quieter and all instruments except a sparse piano disappearing. Then we hear some auto-tuned ah vocals before we get to the coda with the fade-out ending. While there are elements of the song that do repeat, each part of the song still feels distinct and brings something new to the song that we hadn't heard before, as if it is trying to sound like a show tune. The song structure is very unconventional for a charting song, let alone one that was a top 5 hit, peaking at #3 on the Hot 100. I said that Somebody That I Used to Know didn't feel like it should have even been a hit, given how different it sounded from the rest of mainstream music at the time. Well, I feel that way even more so for Some Some Nights. I don't think there's been a hit that strays away from the typical pop song structure this much since My Chemical Romance's Welcome to the Black Parade, my number one best hit song of 2007. But I'd argue Some Nights strays even further away from the pop song structure than that song did. And while I think that Welcome to the Black Parade is a better song, Some Nights still sounds awesome. Nate Ruiz's raw, belting vocals and the thumping drum beat really make the song sound so explosive and epic. And I haven't even talked about the lyrics yet. Fitting along with the stage musical feeling, Some Nights is a song about facing an existential crisis and not being sure what you even stand for. The first chorus mentions how some nights you wish your lips could build a castle, but some nights you wish they just fall off. You're indecisive and not sure how you really want to spend your days. Build a castle could be a reference to wanting to do something constructive in your life or be wealthy and successful. The first verse talks about having a desire for you to break the rules and spend your life doing something enjoyable rather than working a routine 9 to 5. Then there's the line, try twice as hard and I'm half as liked. Working harder isn't earning you admiration like you hoped it would, so is it really worth continuing to do? The second chorus says you could use some friends for a change. Perhaps that's what you're missing, the chance to meet new people in the world. And the bridge wonders why you sold your soul and miss your parents for what you're currently doing, and how after 10 years of this, you're not sure if anybody understands why you're doing what you do. Heck, maybe you don't even truly know yourself. What you're doing isn't for your family, so what's the point? You know, as an adult in his 20s, who still doesn't have a full grasp of what I want to do with my life, I can certainly relate to that. I think of a lot of adults have that one night awake in bed, wondering, what have I been doing with my life? These lyrics are really profound, and this is one of the smartest, for the lack of a better word, songs to be a Billboard year-end hit. You don't hear many pop songs that discuss the feeling of wondering what you're doing with your life and what your purpose truly is, and that just sounds so lively and artsy. I honestly could see the song being performed in a stage musical. I said that Desperate Measures by Marianas Trench had an element of theatricality to it, but I think Some Nights takes it even further. Although this isn't the song that Fun are most well known for, it definitely deserves to be because it just sounds absolutely amazing, and for that, it's my pick for the number one best hit song of 2012. It's a song that I certainly have fun listening to, and I hope the same is true for you. And those are the top 10 best hit songs of 2012. Thanks as always for watching, and be on the lookout for the top 10 best hit songs of 2013 video, which will be coming out relatively soon. See you for that, and to quote the title of the second best hit song of 2012, take care.